Good afternoon to you. 3:06 now. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up 3:30, Katelynn Richardson, reporter for the Daily Caller, will give us the latest on Fanni Willis and her collapsing case in Georgia. Dr. Rick Chai will be with us. He is a resident of East Palestine, Ohio, and he's got some thoughts on Joe Biden's upcoming visit to the town. And Todd Bensman joins us from the Center for Immigration Studies at 4:30 today. We talked to him about Joe Biden's latest stunt, pretending it's Donald Trump's fault that the border's open. And Tommy Tuberville, the U.S. Senator from Alabama, will be with us coming up at 5:30 this evening. Do not miss that conversation. Want to get an update from him on what's going on behind the scenes with that big old amnesty bill. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. The left is so completely brazen. They're now releasing documentaries paid for by you to tell you how they spun you. They're bragging about it. There's a brand new PBS documentary. Of course, PBS, very dramatically publicly funded, whether it's at the state, local, or federal level. PBS documentary about January 6th, the committee. It's not even about the events of January 6th. It's about how great the committee was. It's truly crazy, and I'm not going to belabor the point any longer. I'm just going to take you right into the trailer. Listen to these people brag about what they did to us.
Thompson's committee had gathered a trove of information. The challenge, what to do with it.
The one thing that we knew was the information that we have is compelling. The thing we needed to do was tell that to the American people in a compelling way.
So in other words, the information wasn't compelling. If you need to spin it, it's not compelling.
So that's why we brought in a former president of ABC News.
Yeah, I got a call pretty much out of the blue from the January 6th committee. They wanted a storyteller, and while they were brilliant lawyers. Storytelling for a mass audience is not what they do.
To bring in a guy like this who would think outside the box really did prove to be fruitful. And it was Goldston who really...
For what purpose? What was the purpose? What was so fruitful about the January 6th committee?
Began to envision this as, in a way, a kind of mini-series, that there would be, sort of 9 episodes, and that these episodes would tackle particular themes.
It's all a show.
Attack on the Capitol. The investigation.
The first hearing was primetime television.
As the nation is about to witness a defining moment. The first hearing before the country, the results of the January 6th investigation.
This is an extraordinary moment in American history.
When it came to that first hearing, we knew how high the stakes were.
Is about to hold
the stakes were so
high.
Prime
time hearing.
The future of the power of the Democrat Party was on the line.
We were either going to, make people realize that this was important, or once you've lost them, you've lost them for good.
By the way, nothing says confronting an insurrection by having a British guy lecture you about how to be an American. I don't know if this guy's an American now or not, but it's just hilarious. Like they hired a Brit to come in and just taunt the American public for wanting its government to work for them.
The stakes were.
Is about to hold its first primetime hearing.
We were either going to, make people realize that this was important, or once you've lost them, you've lost them for good.
On the evening of June 9th, 8:01 p.m.,
oh my God.
The doors opened. My heart was beating pretty fast on June 9th, and it was a real question of, is this going to work or not?
At 8:01 p.m. on the dot.
All right, everybody, here we go. 5 on the line.
Oh, my God. Is this real? I watched a portion of this. We were, as you do, you're frantically trying to pull together all of the elements of today's breaking news. But I was watching some of this, and I turned away from it. Corey had it on his computer. He was cutting some of the audio of this. And so they actually have a portion where you have the control room piped in. All right, everybody, places, lights. All right, here we go. Benny Thompson walking towards the door. Hit your mark in 5.
8:01 p.m., the doors opened. My heart was beating pretty fast on June 9th. And it was a real question of, is this going to work or not?
All right, cue the crying. Adam Kinzinger, begin crying right now.
All right, everybody, here we go. File
Places.
on the line, please.
I'm in this tiny control room right up the stairs from Cannon Caucus. And we count down
Someone get in Liz Cheney's ear. She's annoying everybody. Tell her to stop annoying everyone.
to the start of the hearing. And at that point, what can you do?
There's no going back. It was like leaping out of an airplane.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
The music.
The Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol will be in order. Without objection.
We wanted to make sure.
Yeah, all right, can we get Morgan Freeman? Let's replace this guy. He's no good. We need somebody else.
The January 6th attack on the United States Capitol will be in order. Without objection.
We wanted to make sure that this was a presentation that would grab the audience and hold on to them. Chairman Thompson loved to say, it's got to pop.
That's right. Grab them, hold on to them, like a January 6th detainee. Chain them to a prison and make them watch this thing. So that's the trailer, right? What I just played, that's the trailer for this documentary? Yeah, that's the it goes on forever. It's like, what a trailer. And so we also pulled the opening segment. So here's the opening segment of the brand new January 6th documentary, designed to brazenly brag to the American people that Democrats and their crying Republican cohorts spun them. It was a big propaganda exercise. Come on.
The president's intent was to stay in power at all costs.
This election was stolen.
I flat out said, I swore an oath. I'm not going to break it. I'm not
patriotically and peacefully make your voices heard.
putting on no stinking circus.
They put their faith in Donald Trump, and he deceived them.
I don't think by any large stretch can you characterize it as bipartisan.
The Select Committee laid the path down.
You can't characterize it as bipartisan. Well, kind of giving the game away. You know, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger.
Down for the Department of Justice.
Donald Trump is going to be the defendant and the candidate. It's hard to imagine how it's going to play out.
Now on Frontline, democracy on trial.
Democracy. These people. So it really is amazing. So the joy of all of this is that they used my taxpayer money to pay for this. They created this thing. And now they're airing it on their PBS affiliates. And congratulations, you're paying for this nonsense. You're paying for them to brag to you about their subversion of all of our systems, right? Where they don't even tell you what's going on. So if they're so proud of it, why did they delete all of the most relevant information before handing over the keys to the committee to the Republicans? What, did they save it for the documentary? Is that what it was? They squirreled it away? They're like, well, got to save the best stuff for the documentary. I was joking earlier when I saw this news break on the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, now X. So can't wait for January 6th, the musical. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great if the Daily Wire or one of these conservative groups, they come out with like a musical version of this? Nancy Pelosi, Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney, Benny Thompson, they're all singing their parts, you know, all their moment in the sun, intentionally misconstruing every utterance of Donald Trump from the past, the present, and the future. Yeah. And then it was actually a Huffington Post guy who pointed out to me. He responded when I posted that. I was like, I can't wait for January 6th, the musical. He reminded me, that's already been done. Did you remember this? When Nancy Pelosi invited the cast of Hamilton to sing to commemorate the events of January 6th, here they are. Lin-Manuel Miranda and the cast of Hamilton singing about, I guess singing a song from their performance, but it's meant to be a commemoration of January 6th.
Yeah, you'll blow us all away someday.
It's actually the left that bombed the Capitol, speaking of blowing things away. It was the Weather Underground who did that back in the 70s. Wow. And this was over, if I remember correctly, they did this over Zoom, right? This was during the stupid Zoom era.
Somehow the arts have a way of saying things in a way that connects, that we cannot do any other way.
Everything.
And that's why I thought it was really important.
Everything is a production to these people. Everything is theatrical spin, propaganda at all costs, whether it's musicals or taxpayer-funded documentaries.
For us to have the arts lead us in this discussion And the further discussion is with some of the most outstanding artists, writers of our time. It's essential that we establish and preserve the narrative of January 6th.
That we establish and preserve the narrative of January 6th. So, in case there was any lingering doubt in your mind that this was all on the up and up, there you go, the mountain of evidence before you. And let me just say, I didn't mean to bring her into this, but it is no wonder people are skeptical of Taylor Swift. Like, that they think this is an op, right? I mean, I'm not among them. The whole thing is just silly. You know, she's dating this guy. And the NFL's trying to exploit it for ratings, obviously. And she's a lefty, and he's a lefty. Got it. I got it. But there is no... I am not at all shocked to see people thinking that she's just a big psyop for Biden or whatever. Because this is an expression... Really, what that is it's an expression of distrust in all of our institutions, in particular, the most powerful ones, right? The news operations, which lend their executives to help produce January 6 hearings that mislead the American people, or Hollywood, which is always all in for Democrats, releasing ridiculous sing-song videos about how you have to vote for Hillary Clinton. It's every election cycle. It's the same exact crap over and over and over again. And so people get really sick and tired of it, don't they? And they're like, then they just start suspecting it's all a scam. Like every one of you. You're all a scam. It's all nonsense. And you start getting super pessimistic. I saw there are people who talk about this as like a black pill. You know the phrase red pill and blue pill? You familiar with that? And if you're not by now, you've been living under a rock. But I will help you, even if you do reside under a rock. Red pill, blue pill comes from The Matrix, the movie The Matrix. And Neo takes the red pill because he wants to have his mind open to what's really going on in the world around him, rather than to stay in a state of, false security, living a fiction with the blue pill, right? So there's a step beyond that, which is if you take the red pill, there are some people who are apparently, this is big, this is all over Twitter the last 24 hours. You're either white pill or black pill. White pill means you're more of an optimist. And in other words, you recognize everything that's collapsing around you, but you have some optimism about you can navigate out. We've got to confront it. We've got to fix it. We've got to move towards it. And if you listen to this program with any regularity, you know that that's much more me than black pill. Black pill is you are a you're Eeyore. You've just given up. Just like it's over. Pessimist. It's just like, those people, they suck the soul out of the room when they start assessing everything. Oh, it doesn't matter. Nothing's ever going to get better. It's all going down the crapper. So just in case you're wondering where you are on the spectrum on this one, are you blue pill? If you are, we're here to open your mind. Red pill, probably. White pill, black pill, somewhere in between. Gray pill, probably that. Gray pill for me, if I'm being honest. But this is why people doubt all these institutions. And then they brag about it. They're like, oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, we spun the American people. Actually, the evidence we had wasn't very good, so we brought in an ABC News executive. We created a mini-series. We presented it with a dramatic flourish. We had everybody hit their marks at a prescribed time. We aired it in prime time. We had dramatic music. We had the right lighting. We really sold this. I mean, man, that was a stinker. There was no way. But I'm so glad we got it out the door. And now we're going to use your money to create a documentary about how great we are and how stupid you are. And then you're going to watch it, and then you're going to, once again, think, man, boy, those guys are great. Those guys are great. So in case you were wondering, that's what's happening with your tax dollars this week. Yeah, a source just reminding me a moment ago that, remember, the January 6th committee added audio to the security camera footage that didn't exist in the security camera footage. There was no sound in the footage in the Capitol. The January 6th committee literally invented it and added it to the security camera feeds in order to further mislead the American public about the quality of their evidence. Of course, once all the security camera footage actually came out, it told a very different story, didn't it? Let's see. We'll take some calls here. I've got Mike in Middletown, New Jersey, calling in. Line 1. Mike, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I really look forward to when they have Pledge Drive on PBS in a few months where they sell us the DVD of this special program. Get the book, the T-shirts, I survived the evil insurrection, with, of course, the orange man's picture on the front.
And I'll buy one of those. If they do, all of a sudden I'll be a PBS donor at that moment. I'd be one of the people they're thanking each day. I'd buy a I Survived January 6th T-shirt. And you and I, Mike, unless you were actually there, but I think you and I would have a similar claim to that shirt as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. None of us were there, but we all survived it.
Exactly. And guess what? You can pay twice for it because it's your tax dollars at work a second time.
Double
it's
dipping.
Wonderful.
Mike,
right.
Mike, thank you.
Remember,
it's a good idea.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mike. Mike dialing in from New Jersey. Appreciate the listenership from the Garden State today. Rich is in Annandale, line 2. Rich, good afternoon.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I want to see the January 6th committee on ice instead of the musical.
So January 6th on ice. So everybody straps skates on. Will there be, and maybe even they get somebody to play Donald Trump. He skates in every so often, and the lights all turn down. It gets real dark, and they play scary music. He skates off the ice, and Adam Kinzinger, saves the day by crying.
Exactly.
January 6th on ice. I love that idea. Thank you, Rich. Those shows are actually pretty impressive. Years ago, I took my kid to see, which one? It was Frozen. The Disney movie Frozen. Yeah, we wouldn't spend that money these days. Not with the way Disney's going. But it was fun at the time, And they mix it up because you can only get so much mileage out of the movie. So they added, like, every other Disney character makes an appearance at some point. Like, Mickey Mouse comes, like, skating across the ice. You're like, I don't remember you in Frozen. What are you doing here? I was like, it doesn't matter. The kids love it, so just do it. Yeah, January 6th on ice. Fun for the whole family. That could happen. That could happen. Hey, I've got some stuff coming up for you. Among the things you and I are going to talk about, Fanni Willis, brand new information about her. Also, a new video has surfaced of her saying that a good DA does not have sex with her subordinates. Now, you may be thinking, Vince, I already heard that. I know. There's a new one. There's a brand new one. We just keep finding all this evidence. It's hilarious of her saying that if I become district attorney, I won't do any of the things that I will eventually actually do. So sleeping with her subordinates, taking money from the taxpayers to lead a luxurious lifestyle. She swore that if she became DA, she wouldn't do that. It turns out she was lying to the good people of Fulton County, Georgia. So I've got that coming up. Katelynn Richardson, who's been covering all of that very aggressively, will be joining us just minutes away. Also, the news, we covered it to some extent yesterday. John Podesta has been given another job at the White House. This time he's going to be the climate czar. And if you were wondering, yes, it doesn't involve a massive conflict of interest and millions of dollars from a foreign government. Obviously. We'll talk about that coming up, too. It's all ahead. Hey, good afternoon. 5:35 here. Make that 3:35. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, Dr. Rick Chai will be with us, a resident of East Palestine, a candidate for Ohio's 6th Congressional District. We'll talk about Joe Biden's visit coming up there and what he thinks of it, what the community thinks of it. Todd Bensman joins us from the Center for Immigration Studies at 4:30. And then at 5:30, we talk about what's happening in the Senate with Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama. We're hearing that there may be a Friday night news dump of the text of the amnesty bill. James Lankford, apparently, might release it tomorrow night. That's according, is it Chad Pergram who tweeted that? Yeah, over at Fox. He's an excellent reporter. So there you go. They don't usually tell you in advance, as Corey noted earlier on Twitter, that they don't usually tell you in advance about a Friday night news dump. But so there you have it. There you have it. We may be getting that bill soon. In the meantime, I want to talk about what's happening down in Fulton County, Georgia. It's been kind of a fascinating saga as the case down there is collapsing under the weight of the corruption of the district attorney, Fanni Willis, who has apparently not only hired an unqualified subordinate to work on her team, but she was also sleeping with him, and then she was paying him nearly $2 million or so. And in the process, he was using that money to take them on fancy trips, and then she didn't disclose any of this. I think I've summarized it well. For more on this, I want to bring in Katelynn Richardson, who does follow the details. She's a reporter for the Daily Caller News Foundation, and she joins us now. Hello, Katelynn.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Okay, so it seems like with each passing day, we get more and more information about Fanni Willis and her misuse of taxpayer funding. What are we learning today?
So what we're waiting for right now is tomorrow her statement, her filing in court responding to these allegations is due. So we're going to see how she addresses this. And to date, we have a lot of unanswered questions. So far, she hasn't addressed these allegations. She's really only said that they were spurred by racism. So we're still wondering what this relationship is with the special prosecutor she appointed, how much in total he's potentially spent on vacations and trips that she may have took with him, as well as why she left the Board of Commissioners in the dark on how much she's spending on the Trump probe in the first place.
So even local officials to whom she is supposed to respond don't know how much money she's spending and on what.
Yeah, the commissioner said at a recent board meeting, one of them brought up the fact that she had been asking Fanni Willis questions about how much was being spent on this case in general. And the response she got was, Lady Justice has no price. But tomorrow, one of the commissioners, Bob Ellis, has also requested that Fanni Willis provide some documentation of the potential misuse of county funds. So she will have to respond to that, as well as that court filing that's due tomorrow.
Wow. All right. There's also this question, which you write about this week for your piece in the Daily Caller News Foundation. Why did she pay Nathan Wade, that is her lover, allegedly, more than the state's top racketeering expert? So she hires multiple people to work under her, but only one, well, at least one of them was paid a lot more than the guy who was an actual expert.
Right. Nathan Wade was paid $250 an hour, according to contracts. Well, John Floyd, who is known as the top racketeering expert in the state, was only paid between $150 and $200 an hour. And this is contrary to what she claimed in a speech she gave shortly after the allegation. She said that she paid all three special prosecutors on the case the same amount, which, as these contracts and billing statements show, is just not true.
Yeah, okay. So that would be a lie. Also, Nathan Wade has had, prior to working for Fanni Willis, has had a number of law partners. What is their relationship to Fanni Willis? What these people who, again, were very close to Nathan Wade?
So she hired two of Nathan Wade's law partners, his current partner, Christopher Campbell, who has earned over $150,000 from the district attorney's office. And she also brought in Terrence Bradley, who is his former law partner, who has been paid nearly $750,000. There's a lot of unanswered questions about what these two individuals were doing. We know that Christopher Campbell was working as a taint attorney, reviewing some privileged evidence to make sure that it doesn't get to prosecutors.
Yes.
But we don't know specifically why they were brought on or many more details beyond that.
Now, both of these men were campaign donors to Fanni Willis as well, correct?
Yes, they were. Collectively, the two of them contributed over $5,000 to her campaign before their contracts with the district attorney's office started, which just continues to raise more questions about why they were hired.
Yeah, I mean, every possible angle of corruption is covered here by all of these allegations. In terms of how much she has benefited from the money that she's given to Nathan Wade, what do we know? What kind of benefits has she taken from him?
We know for sure, based on bank statements contained in Nathan Wade's divorce case, that he paid for tickets to Miami and San Francisco in her name. We also know that he made payments to a cruise line on the same day he purchased the ticket to Miami. So these seem to provide support for the allegations against her that he was taking her on all these luxurious vacations to various locations. But we still don't know the extent of that because she has not filed a response or said whether or not this is all true.
Okay. Now I want to take people back in time. Before Fanni Willis became district attorney, while she was a candidate, she did an interview with a publication down there in Georgia called the Atlanta Voice. And she talked about what kind of district attorney the people of Fulton County deserved. Take a listen to this. and see if you can identify the hilarious irony of her remarks.
The district attorney's office in Fulton should be the beacon of the Southeast. It should be the absolute best office between Washington, D.C. and Miami. And right now what you have is a office of dysfunction and corruption, and we deserve better. And I am the right choice to improve it.
Corruption, Ms. Willis, that's a strong word to level against the office that Paul Howard has run for nearly a quarter century. If he gets reelected, it'll be more than 25 years.
You have a DA sitting there that doesn't have the qualifications and the experience to do the job. What I can guarantee you is with my reputation, with my community ties, I am going to be able to attract the best and the brightest minds to that office. You're sitting with someone today that actually wants to make a difference because they deserve a DA that won't have sex with his employees, because they deserve a DA that won't put money in their own pocket when it should go to benefit children, because we deserve better.
There you go. All right, so when she ran for office, she said that Fulton County deserved a DA that wouldn't sleep with their own employees and wouldn't be pocketing the money from the office. And now it sure sounds like she's doing all of those things.
Yeah, it sounds very close to the allegations against her. And again, right now we're in a place where she simply has not provided an answer, and we'll have to see what she says tomorrow.
Yeah, all right. So things move along tomorrow. Are you hearing that she is long for this job, or no? Will she be shuffled off in the near term?
We're going to have to wait until the hearing on the 15th. Judge Scott McAfee is going to sort out these allegations in court, and her and Wade have reportedly been subpoenaed to testify at that hearing by the attorney for the Trump co-defendant who filed the motion making these allegations initially.
Got it. All right. Katelynn Richardson over at the Daily Caller News Foundation has been digging in on this as aggressively as any, in fact, the most aggressive reporter on this subject. Thank you very much, Katelynn. Good to talk to you today.
You too. Thanks.
All right. That's Katelynn. One more Fanni Willis audio cut for you. Remember, after the allegations became overwhelming. Like, wait a second. You're sleeping with a guy and paying him millions of dollars. He's totally unqualified to be in this job. What's the deal? What is this? You did it on the most high-profile legal case of your entire career, the one that the whole country is watching as you try and prosecute Trump for a RICO violation? Here's how Fanni Willis explained it all away. She said, I'm a black woman. You're not allowed to say that.
You cannot expect black women to be perfect and save the world.
That's a message for Black History Month. What is this?
The Lord is completing us. We are not perfect. We need your prayers. We need to be allowed to stumble. We need grace. With that kind of support, we will move mountains and do Jesus' will. Stumbling all the way.
I'm not perfect. I'm sleeping with a subordinate and taking taxpayer money. Who's perfect, though? We all make mistakes continuously. After promising we wouldn't make those mistakes in particular, commit those exact sins. Yeah, so that's Fanni Willis for you. Joe Biden, speaking of Georgia now, Joe Biden called a family in Georgia to offer condolences for the loss of their loved one, a soldier killed this past week, overseas in Jordan. And here's how Biden did it. Biden offered his condolences to the family of Kennedy Sanders, and then he once again lied and said that his son died in Iraq. To the family of fallen troop. Take a listen.
President Biden calling Oneida and Sean Sanders, whose 24-year-old daughter Kennedy was killed in the attack.
I know, everybody, I know there's nothing anybody can say or do to ease the pain. I've been there.
Yes, sir, we understand.
The parents overcome with emotion when the president reveals how their daughter will be honored.
We're promoting her posthumously to sergeant.
Oh, wow. That is the best news I've heard today. Thank you so much. You don't know how much that means to us.
Oh, well, I tell you what, it means a lot to me. My son spent a year in Iraq until I lost him. And,
You heard him there. The family's breaking up, and rightfully so. they just lost their beloved daughter. But you hear him there at the end. He says, my son spent a year in Iraq. That's how I lost him. His son died a little bit more than 5 years after he came back from Iraq. He wasn't in Iraq. He died of brain cancer back here in the United States years later. And Biden just keeps doing this. He keeps invoking, certainly Beau's death, in every interaction he has where he's trying to demonstrate some degree of empathy. But the way that he's told this story over and over and over again has either been built on outright lies or with the implication that his son died in combat. And it's just disgraceful. It's just totally disgraceful that he does this over and over and over, including to the families of people who just lost their loved ones in Jordan, serving this nation. And unfortunately, as I was saying earlier this week, those deaths could have been avoided in any number of ways. But one of them, of course, is to not empower Iran to attack American troops. Iran at this moment is now at least $50 billion richer than it was before Joe Biden took office. And they get even richer by the day as they are able to sell off all this oil, because Biden is not stopping them from doing it, to the Chinese, which import 90% of Iranian oil. And then that money goes where? It goes back to Iran. It funds the Iranian terror regime and all of its proxies all across the Middle East that do rain terror down upon their enemies, whether they be in Israel or they be Americans or Westerners broadly in the region. So it's just sad. It's just sad to hear something like that. I don't know. Why do they do that? I realize, the White House must think, okay, well, if we don't put them on the phone with these guys, then somebody in the press is going to call us out and say, why aren't you calling the families of the fallen? And I assume that would be Fox or somebody who does want to hold Biden to account, who would ask a question like that, has been asking questions like that. So on the other side of the coin is let Joe Biden just freestyle it on a phone and then lie to an American family, a Gold Star family? What? These are awful decisions. This is why he shouldn't be president of the United States. Either he ignores those families, which he shouldn't, or he talks to them and lies to them. So it's time to go. It's well past time for him to go. Just resign. Just leave. Please do all of us a favor. But instead, we're served things like that. And one last element here. That phone call that you just heard was captured on camera. We don't know what camera. Chris Plant apparently raised this today. He's right about it. What is it with the cameras that are always present for these Democrat orchestrated events? There's a camera in the room pointing at the family, and then it ends up on Good Morning America. It's again, it goes back to what we were saying at the top of the show. It's like there's a reason we're suspicious of all of our institutions. Everything feels so orchestrated all the time in order to try and advance Democrat power. And Good Morning America doesn't even call out Biden. It's supposed to be a news network. Biden gets away with just lying on the air in this conversation with the family, and they never once paused to say, well, an editorial note here, Biden lied to the family. Now, if Trump did anything even approximating that, ABC News would dedicate entire segments to the issue. Can't believe he lied. They would chase down the family. They would ask, what do you think about him lying to you? Can you believe he lied to you during this important phone call? And we'd get days of coverage, magazine spreads. Not so with Biden, but All right, coming up, we've got some updates for you on John Podesta. The Clinton pal, the Hillary emails guy, the guy who made his password. He's unbelievable. He's been working with the Biden administration. Now he's got a new job as the climate czar, replacing John Kerry. One goofy old insider for another. So he's coming into the gig. He'll be handling the climate. He'll be controlling the weather for the rest of us going forward. And he's got a massive conflict of interest on his hands. A massive one, which is par for the course for the Biden White House. We'll explore that. And also, we have an update on the fellas who had sex inside of a Senate hearing room. Was that Amy Klobuchar's desk? Yeah, I hope they Lysoled that thing. It's wild, actually. Of course, that we saw that video The consequences for doing that, 2 Democrats did the nasty on a conference room desk, and very, very public place to do it. What are the consequences of that in the Capitol building? I'm going to share that with you coming up and compare it to some other recent cases, and we'll see if you can guess which one gets the longer prison sentence. It's ahead on this, The Vince Coglianese Show.